Here we have the ELAC Debut ConneX Adsum speakers. These are a small bookshelf-powered pair that are identical in feature set and construction to the ELAC Debut ConneX DCB41s, but have been thoughtfully and quite stunningly draped in the design language of Brooklyn clothing company Adsum. I think because of that, they look great. Inside the box, you will find 2 speakers, one of them with all the power inputs, controls, and output connections on offer, and the other with just a simple set of speaker inputs to feed from the first. You also get an IR remote, a power cord, speaker wire for connecting the 2 as a pair, and a single HDMI cable. Finally, you will find the bespoke stands to rest each speaker on, and the magnetic removable grills. And those grills, we need to talk about those. Standing head and shoulders above the experience is the look of these speakers with the grills attached. To my eye, they're one of the few speaker designs that benefit from keeping the grills on. A little bit Sonos, a little bit Apple, and a lot of 80s is happening all around here. The jet black drivers poking out behind the checkerboard pattern give off a very bespoke and considered aesthetic, without your entire room needing to be dedicated to synthwave. Around the back of the powered speaker, we can plug in mains power, connect the unpowered speaker with the included wire, and then it's up to you to choose how to feed your sources into it. For that, we have Bluetooth and analog line-in, which is switchable to phono for turntables, USB-B for connection to a computer, optical digital for game systems, CD players, or older TVs, and an HDMI ARC port for sending audio from newer TVs to these speakers. The Debut ConneX also have a mono subwoofer output to connect to a powered sub, and a switch to toggle whether the powered speaker is on the left or right position, giving you options for where to place it in your setup. As for placement, you certainly have a lot of options because these ELACs are tiny and light, but importantly feel and look premium. Standing just 12.5 inches tall with the stands, 9.5 inches deep and 6.5 inches wide, finding room on your desk or next to a TV, flanking your turntable, or citing as their own statement piece is a breeze. From the front, an integrated multicolor LED tells you immediately which source is active: blue for Bluetooth, red for optical, green for HDMI, white for USB, and pink for phono. The remote allows you to select any of these sources for playback, as well as set up Bluetooth for pairing with your phone or device. While the ConneX compared to multiple Bluetooth devices, only one can be used at a time. If you prefer a more manual touch, there is an integrated volume and input select on the back of the powered speaker. Rotate for volume and press to cycle through what you would like to listen to. I appreciate that ELAC provides 68 inches of speaker wire in the box, as this allows longer or shorter runs for a more managed install. For something designed, or rather redesigned, with a more premium look, care of Adsum, a custom integrated speaker-to-speaker cable would have been nice to see. But playing audio through them is where all that connectivity and design really must meet the road. How do these sound, and what do they sound like? Running 50 watts RMS per channel through a 3/4 inch soft dome tweeter and a 4.5 inch woofer on each speaker, these ELACs get surprisingly loud. Firing them up for the first time and playing Justice's Never Ender, which seemed appropriate considering the look, brought other Crutchfield workers dancing into the studio. Flummoxed by the size and thinking it was a large, full-range soundbar while out of sight is a great first impression for someone to have. Getting down to the more nitty-gritty, the Debut ConneX have a surprising amount of low end and highs with a soft roll-off that modern music and sensibilities will find familiar. The low end won't fool you into thinking there is a sub somewhere in the room, which is where the dedicated subwoofer out comes into play. ELAC does have their proprietary X-Bass enhancer tech at work here, which defaults to on, but can be switched off or dialed up using the remote. I find X-Bass being on by default interesting and an obvious move by ELAC to help those 4.5 inch woofers move more air than their size might suggest. Unlike some other bass enhancement circuits, the DSP in these bookshelves doesn't make the bottom end boomy for the sake of volume. It is good to note that the bass port on these speakers is on the back, so they will need some room away from any wall you place them against for the best bottom end. The high-end roll-off is something I really enjoyed, although I can imagine some might find it too aggressive. I spent 4 hours one evening listening to a variety of music non-stop and walked away with no fatigue at all, which is not something all speakers can claim. Case in point, I find the mix of Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso almost deliberately aggressive in the highs on a wide range of systems. Same with the guitars on 4 Year Strong's Enemy of the World album. You almost must break up your listening sessions just to take a rest. Not so here. The high end is tamed well, so put it on repeat with no worries. To my ear, the Debut ConneX sound comforting, something to indulge in all evening long. If speakers are get-togethers, these are a warm glow dinner party with a half a dozen close friends. These ELACs hug you with their sound. As such, if you're going to listen to music through the workday or through a long game session with friends and family, I'd want these on the bookshelf. It sounds as if everything is being played off vinyl, even if you're streaming from your phone or off a computer. To that end, critical listening speakers these are not. Because of the way they treat highs, the stereo field is enigmatic. Don't get me wrong, the soundstage is wide, but placing things left to right within it is not a precision job. Because of this, pairing these up to a TV as a system for movies is not going to replicate a theater experience. But that said, they are exceptionally tuned to deliver clear dialogue. The soft whispered conversations in Deus Ex Machina jump to your ears. Lieutenant Winter's call for TNT and Band of Brothers are as precise as was recorded on the day, even if you can't tell which way the bullets are flying. Add a subwoofer and you have a clear little 2.1 system that works perfectly for a second room or a small apartment where everything is on display. Alternatives? Well, certainly nothing with as much panache in the looks department. And the multitude of connection options is putting these ELACs in rarefied air as well. The SVS Prime Wireless have double the power and add network connections that facilitate streaming via Chromecast and Apple AirPlay 2. If you can forego HDMI, Kanto and Audio Engine have similar size and power options available. To my eye, none of them are doing it with nearly as much style. Of course, you should also consider ELAC's own Debut ConneX DCB 41s if you're after a slightly different aesthetic with the same feature set for a bit less money. And that's where I draw my conclusions with the ELAC Debut ConneX Adsum. You see them, you want them, and they're easy to live with. You can connect pretty much anything to them, you can set them up almost anywhere because of their small size, and they will look good being there. But most importantly, you can listen to them all day, every day.